They called it a relic before it finished vanishing. The chamber of the Galactic Council was built to intimidate. Tiers of levitating seats, a hollow sphere of stars projected at its center, delegates from 27 species arranged by conquest. Order. Supreme Arbiter Kelt watched the projection collapse into empty space where the unknown vessel had been. One ship. Then nothing. The silence that followed tasted like opportunity. Human technology, Kelt said, voice smooth. Consistent with archived primitives. No cloaking residue beyond baseline distortion. Soft laughter rippled through. The tears. An avian admiral preened his crests. A crystalline envoy chimed approval. Humans had been gone for centuries. Civilizations vanished all the time. Relics resurface when they are desperate, the fleet prefect added. Or when they wish to be processed. That word carried weight. Processing meant erasure with paperwork. A tactical overlay flared. 10,000 council vessels ringed the sector in perfect arcs, energy lances charged, shields layered 6 deep. Against them, a single unresolved contact marker pulsed, already fading. Kelt let the image hang. Numbers mattered. They always did. They vanished because they saw us, someone said. No, Kelt replied. They vanished because they are obsolete. The Council's historians chimed in, citing doctrine, human kinetics, inefficient, human armor, crude, human crews, emotional. The record showed defeats, treaties, disappearances. No victories worth remembering. The Arbiter authorized a sector sweep, radius 0.4 AU, resolution tightened, energy grids hot. If the relic returned, it would return into a net. Authorize processing, Kelt said. The vote was ceremonial. 27 lights turned green. Processing approved in under 6 seconds. A single descent light flickered amber. An observer from a minor trade league. It went unnoticed. Containment only, asked the prefect, feigning courtesy. Containment, Kelt agreed. Then examples. The projection updated. Scouts reported no warp wakes, no exotic signatures, nothing that matched council cloaks. The unknown ship had not fled along any known axis. It had simply not been there. The chamber relaxed. Mockery sharpened into certainty. They will come back, an admiral said. They always do. Of course, Kelt answered. And when they do, we will educate them. They laughed again. A lone ship is not a threat. A relic does not change history. The Arbiter signed the order set. Energy first engagement. Escalation authorized after 3 minutes of non-compliance. 0 tolerance for resistance. Civilian traffic was cleared. 20 million evac notices issued across nearby systems, more than sufficient to protect council assets. Clean. Legal. Final. As the session adjourned, Kelt allowed himself a private satisfaction. The galaxy preferred order. The Council provided it. If humans still existed, they would learn the price of returning uninvited. Beyond the chamber, sensors continued to sweep empty space, confident in their math, unaware that the first lesson had already begun. First contact returned as a voice, not a weapon. The Council chamber reconvened to a sector map blooming with contacts. 67 markers appeared inside the containment ring, motionless, evenly spaced. Not emerging from warp. Not burning drives. Simply present. Supreme Arbiter Kelt felt the chamber still. Multiple human vessels, the fleet prefect reported. Count confirmed, 67. Against 10,000 council hulls, it bordered on parity, a transmission cut through without encryption. No anthem. No flourish. A calm human voice, level and unhurried, filled the sphere. Galactic Council forces, this is Human Expeditionary Command. We are holding position. We do not consent to processing. Murmurs rose. Kelt lifted a hand. Silence returned. You have entered a secured council volume, Kelt replied. Submit to inspection and disarmament. Non-compliance will be resolved. The human response arrived in 0.8 seconds. Negative. We are operating lawfully under self-defense provisions. We advise you to disengage energy grids and open lanes for civilian traffic. You have 6 minutes. Laughter sparked and died. The Yaik number lingered. Threat assessment? Kelt asked. Minimal, said Tactical. They have not maneuvered, no weapons locks, no emissions beyond baseline power. The human ships remained still, arranged in a shallow crescent, each separated by exactly 20,000 kilometers. Formation discipline. Kelt noted it without comment. A second transmission followed, broader band, addressed to all channels. We will not fire first. We will not pursue retreating vessels. We will accept surrender. We do not kill prisoners. Ekchiu. Pause, then the stinger landed, quiet and precise. We are not here to rule you, the chamber bristled. Arrogance, an admiral spat. They posture with words. Kelt authorized escalation stage 1. Energy lances warmed across the ring. Capacitor ZEU. Ticking up in neat percentages. Final warning, he said. Submit or be contained. The human answer did not change. We are holding position. They did. 67 hulls, dark against the stars, did not advance or flee. Council sensors probed them at maximum resolution. Hull. Mass readings higher than expected. Armor profiles irregular. Power cores steady at 62% output. No spike. No fear. Another line, transmitted calmly, almost instructional. Your energy grids intersect civilian corridors. We recommend a 0.4 AU retraction to prevent collateral disruption. Concern for our civilians now? Kelt said. Processing will be humane. A second stinger cut through the chamber. This is your last clean decision. The prefect leaned close. Arbiter, they are buying time. For what? Kelt asked. For something, the prefect said and hesitated. Or nothing, they may simply be certain. Kelt studied the map. 10,000 to 67. 6 layers of shields to unknown armor. Minutes to compliance elapsed. 4:12. The council had never been defied so plainly, so politely. Hold them, Kelt ordered. Weapons free on my mark. The human ships did not move. They waited. And for the first time the council realized the humans were not negotiating. They were measuring. The first shot was immaculate and useless. Supreme Arbiter Kelt gave the mark without ceremony. Across a ring spanning 0.4 AU, 10,000 council vessels released energy in disciplined sequence. Lances, arcs, phased beams calibrated to peel continents. Space between fleets ignited into layered light. A controlled storm measured in petajoules per second. The human formation did not break. Impacts bloomed against dark hulls, flaring white, then fading. Shields should have screamed. Armor should have slagged. Instead, the human ships held position, power signatures rising in smooth curves rather than spikes. Direct hits confirmed, Tactical said, voice tightening. All 67 contacts struck. No. Debris followed. A human transmission overlaid the firing telemetry, calm enough to sound instructional. Impact received. Absorption efficiency 98.7%, residual heat with intolerance. The chamber froze. Repeat, Kelt said. Absorption efficiency 98.7%, Tactical echoed, disbelief leaking through. Energy dispersal, layered, not shields. Something else? The council doubled output, lances thickened, frequencies shifted, exotic harmonics threaded the barrage. For 90 seconds the void became a furnace. When the light thinned, the human ships were still there. Scorched, yes, but intact. Formation spacing unchanged at 20,000 kilometers. A second human report arrived, precise to the decimal. Second volley analyzed. Absorption, 97.9%. Armor ablation. Nominal. Recommend you cease fire. A stinger cut the noise. Your weapons are teaching us, Kelt felt it then, not fear but displacement. The math was wrong. Council energy doctrine assumed loss, bleed, collapse. These ships were drinking the fire, rooting it, shedding it as harmless glow. Power cores climbed to 71%, as if fed by the assault. Target subsystems, Kelt ordered. Overwhelm them. The third volley came hotter and closer, converged fire from 3,200 ships onto the center of the human crescent. Space bent, sensors whined. For 12 seconds, nothing existed but light. When it cleared, the center ship vented heat in controlled plumes, and transmitted again. Localized overload compensated. Absorption, 96.2%. Thank you for the data. Silence fell, heavy as vacuum. They're harvesting us, an admiral whispered. No, the prefect said. They're negating us. Council analysts raced projections. At current rates, sustained fire would degrade human armor in hours, perhaps. But the humans were not degrading fast enough. Worse, the firing solution showed diminishing returns. Each adjustment was met, measured, neutralized. A broader human broadcast followed, steady and public. Council forces, disengage energy weapons. You are causing unnecessary strain to civilian grids. We will hold position for 6 minutes more. Kelt clenched his mandibles. They do not dictate terms. Another standalone line arrived, soft and final. We will not fire first. The council fired again. This time something new appeared in the data, micro-adjustments in the human formation, barely perceptible shifts in angle and spacing. The beams slid, diffused, lost coherence sooner than predicted. Efficiency dropped again, 95.4%, 94.8%. Kelt stared at the numbers. 10,000 ships, full barrage, and still no human losses. Arbiter, Tactical said carefully. If this continues, they will complete their analysis. Kelt understood the implication too late. Fire had failed to break them. It had only revealed the next step. He raised a hand to speak, but the human fleet was already done measuring. They crossed the gap before the order finished forming. Human power signatures spiked, clean, deliberate, and 67 ships accelerated. As one, not a charge. A calculated burn that bent the tactical map inward. In distances collapsed from 0.4 AU to combat. Ranges the Council had never trained to defend. Acceleration exceeding projections, Tactical warned. They're pulling 120 growing sustained. Council doctrine prized distance, elegant arcs, energy, dominance measured in light seconds. At 0.3 AU, then 0.2, the ring began to buckle as ships adjusted to maintain spacing. Too late. The humans kept coming, drives flaring cold white, vectors perfectly synchronized. A human transmission cut in, almost courteous. Closing to minimum safe distance. Recommend you break formation. They did not. At 80,000 kilometers, the first Council cruisers lost alignment, forced to yaw to avoid collisions as the human crescent folded inward. At 50,000, energy lances lost focus, beam coherence bleeding under rapid angular shifts. The elegant arcs twisted into a mess of overlapping fire lanes. This was not pursuit. This was compression. A stinger landed, precise and unforgiving. Distance is a weapon. Kelt watched the map deform. 10,000 ships tried to hold doctrine against an enemy that refused to respect it. Council captains throttled engines, some accelerating, others braking. The once perfect ring now a series of gaps and clots. Human ships are inside optimal. Engagement envelope, Tactical said. Multiple envelopes. The humans slid through those gaps with surgical calm, each ship threading space at exactly 20,000 kilometers separation, never colliding, never drifting. Council point defenses struggled to track targets crossing their arcs in seconds. Energy grids flickered as firing solutions recalculated and failed. At 30,000 kilometers, the humans cut lateral thrust and rotated hulls, armor forward, profiles narrowing. Sensors screamed warnings as mass readings surged closer, faster than Council safeties allowed. Order them to stop, the prefect snapped. Kelt transmitted. You are violating containment. Halt immediately. The human reply came in 0.6 seconds. Negative. You are violating civilian safety margins. We are correcting the geometry. Another line followed, quieter. We warned you. The first Council destroyer clipped a neighbor's shield and spun, formation collapsing around it. Human ships flowed past, never firing, their mere presence forcing chaos. Distances shrank to 10,000s. Kilometers, then 8,000. Close enough to see hull scars from the earlier barrage, controlled, shallow, cosmetic. Human acceleration tapered, then stopped. 67 ships hung among thousands. Not surrounded but interleaved, each Council vessel suddenly flanked by human mass on multiple vectors. Arbiter, Tactical said, voice thin. They've negated our range advantage. Kelt felt the truth settle. The Council had planned for annihilation at distance, for slow attrition, for clean processing. They had not planned for an enemy that chose proximity. that used motion as a blade. A final human broadcast filled the channel, steady, as before. You may still disengage, power down energy weapons, hold position, no threats. No triumph, just control. The Council fleet drifted in disarray, engines throttling to avoid collisions, firing arcs fouled, doctrine shattered in minutes. In the sudden quiet, Kelt understood what the humans had taken by force of motion alone. They had decided where the fight would happen, and it was no longer where the Council could win. The first kinetic round arrived without warning or heat. Council sensors flagged it only after impact. A sudden absence where a command frigate had been. No flare, no energy bloom, just a hole punched clean through layered shields and elegant hull, followed by catastrophic decompression. The ship broke apart in silence. Projectile weapon, Tactical said, stunned. Mass driver. Velocity, significant. The humans transmitted immediately. Demonstration strike complete. Ceasefire. Surrender channels are open. No one answered. Then the railguns spoke in sequence. From 20,000 kilometers, tungsten slugs accelerated to relativistic fractions, crossing the gap in milliseconds. Council point defenses reacted too slowly, optimized for energy signatures that never came. One flagship lost its bridge section. Another vanished from the map entirely, core cracked by sheer momentum, a stinger cut through the chaos. Kinetics do not negotiate. Missile hatches irised open along human hulls, clean and orderly. Hundreds of projectiles launched, not in swarms, but in disciplined packets, each tagged to a specific hull. They curved through the cluttered battle space, adjusting course with cold precision. Targets are command nodes, Tactical reported. Ignoring escorts! Human missiles slipped through fouled firing arcs and detonated deep inside Council flagships, shaped charges blooming inward. Shields meant nothing when the threat was already past them. Within 4 minutes, 7 command vessels were gone, dead centers of gravity that left entire flotillas drifting leaderless. Kelt watched the map hemorrhage authority. Return fire, he ordered. All ships. Some tried, few succeeded. At these distances, energy, lances could not form before human kinetics struck again. Another railgun salvo carved through a carrier spine, venting atmosphere and bodies alike. The humans did not follow up. They waited, watching the counters tick. A broader human broadcast overrode the din. We are executing limited strikes against command infrastructure only. Civilian hulls are not targets. Power down and signal surrender. Another line, quieter, landed like judgment. This can stop now. The Council did not stop. The nuclear strike came last. One human ship detached from the formation and fired a single missile toward the densest cluster of remaining command ships. Its sea did not accelerate fast. It did not hide. Council defenses locked on and fired, too late. At 15,000 kilometers, the missile split, shedding decoys, then detonated. The blast was not large by stellar standards. It was precise. A nuclear pulse washed across space, tuned to overload sensors and rupture hulls without igniting secondary reactions. 3 flagships went dark at once. 2 more spun helplessly, cores scrammed, crews stunned but alive. Casualty. Estimates stabilized at under 12%. High for command, low for annihilation. The humans transmitted immediately. In nuclear yield contained. No follow-on strikes planned. Silence answered. 10,000 ships had become thousands of isolated hulls, drifting, confused, many without orders. Timers on the tactical overlay told the story. 6 minutes since first kinetic impact. Council command integrity below 30%. Kelt felt the chamber tilt. This was not rage, not excess. It was a verdict delivered with tools chosen for certainty, not cruelty. We surrender, a fractured voice finally transmitted. From a surviving admiral. Cease fire! The human reply was instant. Acknowledged. All kinetic fire halted. Hold position, and they did. Railguns cooled. Missile bays sealed. No pursuit followed. Human ships maintained their lattice among the wreckage. Weapons. Silent. Dominance. Absolute. The kinetic phase ended as cleanly as it began. In the sudden quiet, amid drifting debris and stunned fleets, the Council understood the shape of defeat, not as destruction, but as control exercised to its logical end. The battle went quiet, and the galaxy leaned in. Across thousands of systems, civilian networks cut from routine feeds to a single, unfiltered stream. The Council's containment zone, once classified, was now public. Wreckage drifted in clean arcs. Human ships held position among disabled fleets, weapons cold. Timers and counters stayed visible. Human Expeditionary Command opened the channel wide. All non-combatant traffic. Corridors are clear. Evacuation lanes remain open. Proceed at civilian priority. 20 million evac notices flipped from pending to green in under 90 seconds. Freight convoys turned away. Passenger liners accelerated out along the lanes the humans had demanded be cleared earlier. No pursuit followed. A stinger cut cleanly. In through the broadcast, we fight fleets, not civilians. Council chambers across the core worlds erupted. Delegates shouted. Analysts ran projections that no longer mattered. The elegant certainty of Council dominance fractured under a simple image. Human ships protecting evacuation routes, while Council wrecks spun nearby. Kelt stood before the main feed, mandibles tight. "Cut the transmission," he ordered. "It's public," an aide said. "They're not jamming, they're inviting witnesses," the human voice returned, steady, almost instructional. "Council forces have ceased organized resistance. We will maintain position for 6 hours to stabilize the battle space. Medical assistance is available upon request." Visual overlays appeared. Maps, showing safe approach vectors, flashing icons marking damaged hulls with life signs detected. Human drones detached, moving at controlled speeds, broadcasting transponder codes in the open. "They're boarding us?" an admiral hissed. "Negative," Tactical replied. "They're assisting." Rescue pods were tracted free from Council ships, fires were vented, life support was patched. Cameras caught human marines guiding wounded aliens toward temporary shelters, weapons slung, visors open, no executions. No trophies. Another standalone line appeared on the stream, translated into dozens of tongues. "Surrender is not death." Political panic spread faster than debris. Trade leagues froze payments. Border states suspended Council docking rights. Systems long pressured into compliance watched humans treat defeated enemies with care and felt something unfamiliar loosen. A Council envoy attempted a counter-broadcast, denouncing human aggression, citing sovereignty. The humans did not respond. Instead, casualty numbers updated in real time. Council losses stabilized. Civilian casualties, 0. A human officer addressed the galaxy directly. "We reject slavery, forced processing, and punitive erasure. Prisoners will be held, identified, and tried under transparent standards. You may observe," the word observe echoed. Kelt realized too late that this was the true battlefield, not space, legitimacy. Across the rim, independent systems rebroadcast the feed, overlaying their own commentary. They warned them. They stopped firing. They protected evac lanes. The narrative locked into place with the weight of numbers and images that could not be argued away. Another stinger, simple and devastating, closed the segment. Power without cruelty endures. 6 hours ticked on the counter. Human ships did not move. Council fleets stabilized under watchful sensors. The galaxy watched restraint made visible, discipline performed in the open. When the feed finally widened to show the full starfield, it was no longer a Council engagement being observed. It was a precedent. Nothing the humans did next was improvised, as AI, the stabilization timer crossed 2 hours. Human Expeditionary Command released a classified tag to public view. Declassified, delayed contact contingency. The document header alone rippled through analyst circles across the galaxy. A human voice narrated, calm and precise. This encounter was anticipated 37 years ago. Schematics unfolded on the feed. Training simulations. War games stamped with dates decades old. Council ship silhouettes annotated with engagement envelopes, energy profiles, and failure points. Every adjustment the Council had just tried, already mapped and scored. A stinger. Landed. Almost clinical. We trained for you. Kelt watched his own fleet reduced to case studies. They're fabricating, he said, though the conviction was gone. They're not, Tactical replied. The timestamps predate today's tech revisions. The feed continued. Our doctrine assumes numerical inferiority. Always. Tables. Appeared. 50 versus 8,000. 67 versus 10,000. Time to control estimates calculated in minutes, not days. Each path ended the same way. Close distance, negate energy, remove command, stop. Human instructors appeared in archived footage, drilling crews on restraint. No pursuit of retreating vessels. No fire on civilian-marked hulls. Medical, response within 10 minutes. The same steps now playing out in real time. Mercy protocols, the narrator said. Rehearsed, not reactive. Human Marines guided prisoners through controlled corridors, biometric scans replacing shackles. Each detainee received an identifier, legal notice, and access to translators. The feed showed clocks counting down to initial hearings. Another standalone line, translated cleanly. Discipline is preparation remembered. Council delegates across. The Corps tried to reframe the narrative, claiming manipulation, staged virtue. But the documents kept coming. After-action drills, ethical reviews. Simulations where humans lost and adapted without abandoning restraint. One slide froze attention. First contact rule 0. Do not escalate for pride. Kelt felt the weight of it. The Council had escalated out of certainty. The humans had arrived, with plans for restraint under pressure, for dominance without collapse. They expected us to fire, the prefect murmured. Yes, Kelt said. And they expected to survive it. The feed widened to show human ship crews at stations, calm faces, clipped exchanges, no victory chants. Readiness drills rotated crews off watch to prevent fatigue. Everything about it spoke of repetition. 37. Years, Kelt repeated. Why wait? The human narrator answered as if hearing him. Because first contact is not an event. It is a pattern. We prepared for the pattern. Outside the containment zone, independent fleets adjusted postures. Not to attack, but to observe. The Council's monopoly on force dissolved under the quiet implication that humans had studied them longer than anyone guessed. A final stinger closed the release. This was not our first plan. As the declassified stream ended, the next packet queued. Automatically, legal frameworks, prisoner exchanges, oversight councils. The humans were not only winning battles, they were unveiling a system designed long before today to decide what came after. Control resumed like a checklist, not a celebration. Human. Expeditionary Command reissued the battlespace map, now stripped of clutter. Remaining Council fleets were tagged by system and readiness state. Green for compliant, yellow for degraded, red for active resistance. The count ticked beside each icon, visible to everyone watching. Phase 2, the human voice said. Disablement. Human. Ships separated into task elements of 3 to 5 hulls, each assigned a cluster. Movement was economical. Short burns, precise vectors. Never breaking the 20,000-kilometer spacing that had become a signature. Council vessels that powered down were bypassed. Those that did not were handled. A stinger appeared, brief and cold. Order is enforced, not debated. In the Vesh corridor, 4 and 12 Council ships attempted a breakout. Human task element. Delta adjusted course and accelerated at 90°, cutting across the corridor mouth. Missiles launched first. Non-nuclear, kinetic interceptors designed to cripple drives. Within 7 minutes, breakout velocity dropped below escape. Threshold. Railgun fire followed, targeting propulsion rings only. Hulls stayed intact. Crews lived. Counter, 412, 0 mobile. In the Thale Reach, a carrier group refused surrender and charged weapons. Human ships closed to 12,000 kilometers inside the carrier's defensive envelope. 3 railgun strikes removed sensor masts. 2 missiles punched through launch bays before fighters could deploy. The carrier drifted, blind and silent. Counter, 1 carrier disabled. Casualties, minimal. Across the battle space, the pattern repeated. No pursuit beyond assigned sectors, no firing on compliant hulls. Each engagement ended the same way. Mobility gone, command isolated, weapons cold. Numbers on the overlay fell steadily. Red to yellow, yellow to green. Kelt watched the counters with a growing dread that had nothing to do with death. This was dismantlement. The Council's fleets were not being destroyed, they were being reorganized. By force into harmless pieces. "They're clearing us system by system," Tactical said. Time to completion, 6 hours. Human broadcasts punctuated each phase. Systems secure. Medical teams inbound. Prisoner processing begins. The language never shifted. Calm. Procedural. Another stinger landed, almost gentle. Resistance. Delays help. At the 4-hour mark, a final pocket flared red near the inner ring, an elite guard flotilla attempting a coordinated strike. Human command adjusted without pause. 2 task elements converged, acceleration peaking at 130 Gran for 40 seconds. The guard flotilla fired everything it had. Energy splashed and failed. Kinetics answered. Drives died. Formation collapsed. The last red icon turned yellow, then green. Counter, 10,000. 0 active combatants. The galaxy watched the numbers finish counting down. Human ships returned to holding patterns, weapons silent, engines idling at low burn. Drones continued rescue and repair. Timers rolled into maintenance cycles. Nothing about the posture suggested occupation, only containment. A final broadcast addressed Council forces directly. All hostile capabilities neutralized. Maintain current status. Further resistance will not improve outcomes. No cheers followed, no victory statements. The humans had treated domination like a task completed to specification. Kelt stood. Alone in the chamber, the starfield projection now a map of compliance. He understood, with a clarity that hurt, that the Council's power had not been taken in a single blow. It had been reduced, counted, and set aside. As the last system indicator stabilized, the human feed widened once more, not to show wreckage, but to show space beyond the engagement zone, dark and unexplored. Control had been established. What came next would not be decided by fleets. The terms arrived without triumph or threat. Human Expeditionary Command transmitted a single document, across all channels, public and archived. Surrender framework, it read, followed by clauses, timelines, and guarantees. No ultimatums, no hidden addenda, just process. All Council forces, the human voice said, you are offered cessation under these conditions. Weapons powered, down. Command logs preserved, crews accounted for. Prisoners will be protected, trials will be transparent. A pause, deliberate. Compliance window, 6 hours. A stinger appeared, stark and steady. Defeat does not end rights. Kelt scanned the Nims's analysts whispered behind him. No executions, no collective punishment. Individual responsibility only. Command decisions reviewed by mixed tribunals, evidence shared, observers invited from neutral systems. Detention standards specified down to square meters per detainee, medical access within 30 minutes, translators, on demand. This is theater, a delegate muttered. It's infrastructure, Kelt replied, surprising himself. Human Marines escorted Council prisoners into temporary facilities, clean, modular, marked clearly on the public feed. Biometric checks replaced restraints. Wounded were prioritized. Cameras showed a human medic steadying a crystalline officer as life support synced. No commentary followed. The image spoke. Another standalone line cut in, translated cleanly. Justice requires witnesses. Across the core, political currents shifted. Border systems that had quietly resented Council processing protocols froze their contributions. Trade leagues issued statements recognizing the human framework as lawful and observable. A dozen minor powers requested observer status within minutes. Observer requests now exceed 300, an aide whispered. Kelt nodded slowly. The Council had ruled by opacity. The humans were offering sunlight. A surviving Council Admiral transmitted, voice brittle. "We accept the framework." The human response was immediate. "Acknowledged. Ceasefire confirmed. Medical teams inbound." Counters updated. Prisoners registered 84,000. Medical cases stabilized 97%. Civilian casualties remained at 0. Each number landed like a verdict against the old order. A council hardliner attempted to rally dissent, calling the trials illegitimate. The human reply did not address him. Instead, the feed showed the first hearing room, plain, open, observers seated, evidence projected with timestamps. The hardliner's channel went quiet on its own. Another stinger followed, softer than the "rest power answers to law." Within hours, delegations from 5 council member systems formally withdrew from centralized command, citing loss of mandate. Others followed, one by one, not in panic but in calculation. The council's authority did not shatter. It drained away. Kelt stood before the chamber's empty tiers and transmitted at last. "We accept observer oversight," he said, "and—" "The terms," the human voice returned, unchanged. "Accepted. No applause, no humiliation. Just the click of systems aligning to a new reality." As transports departed under escort and hearings scheduled themselves across calendars, the galaxy felt the ground move beneath old assumptions. Conquest had been replaced by accountability. Victory by administration. When the feed finally widened beyond the chamber, it did not linger on the defeated. It lingered on the mechanisms now turning, slow, visible, and irreversible, pulling power toward those willing to be judged. The horizon was no longer a line. Human ships held position among the aftermath of the Council fleets. Railguns cooled, missile bays sealed, nuclear warheads vented. The space between wrecks and drifting hulks was silent, measured. Sensors swept outward, beyond the engagement zone, beyond known traffic, into the outer rim. Reading anomalies, Tactical reported. Multiple transits detected, unknown vectors, mass signatures exceed 10,000 kilometers. Approach velocity, 0.6 C projected. A stinger punctuated the feed. Something waits. Human command did not recoil. Catalog and monitor. Maintain formation. Civilian and survivor lanes remain open. No engagement until identification complete. The voice was calm, surgical, precise. The same voice that had dictated victory and mercy, now dictating vigilance. Kelt studied the displays. Council fleets had been reduced to compliant hulks, systems tagged and logged. Yet outside the cleared sectors, the unknown presence loomed like a shadow across the sensor grid. Estimates suggested the mass and speed indicated not a scouting, worse, but a strike wave. Unknown numbers, unknown intent, highly lethal. "They're fast," an analyst whispered. "Too fast for standard council interception." "They're beyond us," Kelt said, understanding the scale. Human ships adjusted silently, holding defensive lattice formation while advancing sweep sensors to maximum. 67 hulls moved, in precision arcs, each maintaining 20,000 kilometer spacing, all engines humming at low burn. Drones detached to extend detection grids. Every pulse, every reflection, every emission was recorded, mapped, and queued for predictive analysis. A human broadcast reached independent observers across thousands of systems. Outer rim presence detected. Unknown hostility probability. High. Prepare for engagement protocols. Civilian channels remain open. Avoid confrontation. Another stinger landed. Quiet and insistent. "We are watching." Council commanders absorbed the message in disbelief. The humans had not celebrated their dominance. They had not pursued retreating vessels. They had applied law, mercy, and precision. Now, they were preparing for what the galaxy had barely imagined. Kelt's sensors registered a deep pulse, almost imperceptible. Mass readings suggested armor and propulsion beyond Council reference. Hundreds of small craft accompanied larger. Unknown energy signatures appeared intermittent, advanced, adaptive, unpredictable. Human command adjusted counters and timers. Engagement estimation delayed. Prepare data packets. Evacuation corridors remain open. Defensive posture. Only. One stinger landed, sharper, almost a promise. We survive, we observe, we decide. The Council's remnants had been disciplined into obedience. The civilians had been preserved, prisoners accounted for, ethical dominance had been demonstrated. Yet as the outer rim signals grew in clarity and number, Kelt understood a new variable had entered the equation. Not fleets, not politics, something older, something systematic. Human ships rotated drives, sensors sweeping hundreds of thousands of kilometers ahead. Crews checked sequences, verified telemetry, and repeated protocols drilled decades earlier. The same discipline that had dismantled the Council now ensured they would not be caught unprepared. The galaxy watched a new horizon stretch beyond human perception, and humans themselves prepared to step forward. Engines hummed, counters ticked, and 67 hulls moved toward the unknown, calm, surgical, inevitable. Sensors pulsed again. The outer rim exiles had been detected. The first move had been made. The horizon waited,